Hello everyone and welcome to episode 66 of the James Layton Fitness Podcast. Now in today's episode we're going to be discussing how to consistently make progress with your accessory/isolation exercises. So as you probably already know, the majority of your focus during your training program with the focus of either building muscle or losing fat should be centered around your big compound exercises, e.g. things like your squats, deadlifts, bench press, overhead press, and other variations of these. Additionally, this is where you should be striving for progress consistently via either fluctuating rep ranges using various different periodization models, using percentages of your 1 rep max, and overall your compound exercises are generally easier to make progress on. However, what about your isolation exercises? Is there any methods where we can consistently make progress during these movements? Now, first, it's important to point out that your isolation exercises, i.e. things like your bicep curls, lateral raises, and other single joint exercises, just simply are not going to progress as quickly as your big compound lifts. The main reason being you're just using significantly lighter loads and you're only using most of the time one muscle group, whereas a big multi-joint compound exercise like squats, for example, is using lots of different muscle groups within the legs, whereas a bicep curl, for example, as long as you're using proper form, is literally just the biceps working, maybe a small amount of front delt, but the reality is the goal is just to isolate the bicep. Now, with regards to making increments in weight, it's important just to look at, for example, your squat and realize that, just say, for example, if you can squat 100 kilograms, making a 2.5 kilogram increment is very little. It's only 2.5%. However, for example, if you're doing 20 kilogram dumbbell curls and then you're adding 2 kilograms to go to 22 kilograms, the percentage increase in weight is much higher, and as a result we need to be much more intelligent about how we go about making progress with our isolation exercises. One great tip that I would suggest implementing is trying to use a wider spectrum of rep ranges. In addition to that, focus on trying to increase your reps first before increasing the weight. And let me just explain what I mean by that. When we're focusing on things like squats, deadlifts, we usually have a very small rep range spectrum. Usually we're trying to target a specific repetition. However, with our isolation work, it's much more effective to have a slightly broader range of reps, and as a result this will allow us to increase the reps first before increasing the weight. So a good example is if you were doing dumbbell bicep curls. Instead of just targeting a specific rep, I would actually suggest having a spectrum of repetitions to target, i.e. 3 sets of 8 to 12. And by that I mean focus on getting to 3 sets of 12 repetitions with the same weight before you actually increase the weight for the following session. Therefore, you can go from 3 sets of 8 to 3 sets of 12, slowly adding reps. You're still making progress, but you only increase the weight when you get to 3 sets of 12. So a good example, let's just say, for example, the first week you do 3 sets of 8. The next week you might do a set of 10, a set of 9, and a set of 8. The following week you might get a set of 12, a set of 11, and a set of 10. And then the next week you might eventually get to 3 sets of 12. Once you've done that, then you can then increase the weights the following session, and then you start again. So you might get, with the new weight, a set of 8, a set of 7, and a set of 6. And then you're slowly focusing on increasing those reps until you hit the top rep range for all 3 sets with the same weight, and then you will increase again. So this is just a really simple way to consistently make progress with your isolation exercises, which is still important. Again, it's not as important as our main compound lifts, but we still want to make progress with our isolation movements. Now, a common question you might be thinking to yourself, should I be making progress in reps every single session? You should be striving for that, but the reality is the more training experience you gain, you'll realize that progress slows, and as a result, you're not actually seeing progress from session to session. But don't panic. The real goal is just chronic progression, i.e. if you look back at your last 6 months weight training, you should see a gradual increase in volume and strength. Those weights should be slowly going up and reps should be slowly going up as well. Additionally, it's important to distinguish the difference between bulking and cutting, i.e. when you're in a bulking phase, i.e. when you're consuming more calories, it's going to be easier to make progress for your compound lifts and your isolation exercises. Conversely, when you're in a dieting phase, a fat loss phase, calories are obviously much lower, and as a result, it's going to be that much tougher to make progress. So you're really focusing more on maintaining strength during the fat loss phase and still striving for progress, but you're more looking to maintain your strength and volume during the fat loss phase. So hopefully this has been useful. Hopefully you can start applying this to your single joint isolation exercises like bicep curls, tricep push downs, lateral raises, things like this, rather than trying to constantly increase the weight. Focus on a wider spectrum of rep ranges. Focus on hitting the top spectrum of that rep range for those given sets with the same weight, and then look to increase the weight and then repeat the cycle. So hopefully you found this useful, and I'll look forward to speaking to you next week. If you're still yet to download my free ebook, How to Set Up a Nutrition Plan, if you go to James Layton, Layton, fitness.co.uk, you'll see a tab at the top of the page and you can download that immediately. Thank you very much.